Good morning and welcome to the Five Lights F1 podcast. We are back. I'm your host, Cody Ziegler. My co-host is not with me again. I think he's still on vacation. Brian should be back here pretty soon. You probably saw him in the first episode. But anyways, we're just going to get straight into it. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter one, but we are coming off. We are about a week away, or we are about a week off from the Singapore Grand Prix, which some interesting things happened. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Some McLaren frustration. Finally, Oscar Piastri showing a little bit of frustration with the team as team orders did not meet his demands again for the second Grand Prix in a row. George Russell and Mercedes really catching a groove right here. Is George Russell the second best driver on the grid behind Max Verstappen? We will talk a little bit about this stuff in just a few moments. Looking at my notes real quick. Sorry. But anyway, some other fun news that we're going to talk about with Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Christian Horner, just some other ones. A lot of rumors floating around F1 right now, and we're gonna do a little bit of a dive into it. And when Brian gets back, I think we'll go a little bit deeper into it and kind of get his thoughts and opinions on everything, and maybe get some better conversation because it's kind of hard to just talk with, just me. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. So let's pull up a little bit of storylines I think you guys might be a little interested in. Well, first off, McLaren has clinched and they have won the constructors title as kind of expected. I mean, every other team was just kind of further behind. It wasn't really realistic to catch up. But yeah, McLaren has done that. Oscar Piastri cuts off Zach Brown in the middle of congratulating him for winning the constructors title because there was another incident in the race where on the first few laps Lando goes for the overtake over Oscar. It may have actually been the first lap. I can't remember exactly. Lando goes for the overtake over Oscar, bumps into him. Oscar doesn't like it, asks for his place back. McLaren team says no. It was clean. It was a clean move. I think you could kind of make the argument that it was just tough racing, and that's what happens in racing. But at the same time, I can kind of see both sides. I personally don't really see where Oscar would have gotten the spot back, but I could also see another side where Oscar could have had to take the spot back. But anyways, let's pull up the grid for Singapore so I can get all the placements because, like I said, we're about a week off, so I can't remember exactly other than George Russell winning, Lando on podium, and Max on podium. That's really all I can remember. But another disappointing weekend for Ferrari also, which, yeah, not too much to say there other than what do you expect anymore? And that will also bring up another storyline that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Um, Singapore Grand Prix. Sorry, I'm doing a little research here. Okay, so Oscar Piastri 4, I should have remembered that. Kimi Antonelli 5. So you have George Russell 1, Antonelli 5. Very, very, very good run for Mercedes. I mean, we saw this last year too, around the time of the Vegas Grand Prix. You know, the Vegas Grand Prix is coming up in about a month now. Um, Mercedes really started getting a groove right around the Austin, Texas one, which is next week as of today. And I think we're seeing that again. Mercedes is, as we talked about it in the first episode, Mercedes is kind of expected to have one of the better cars after the rule changes and the car changes and everything for the 2026 season. And we're starting to see that already into the 2025 season, although the changes haven't been made yet. But Mercedes just typically finds a later in the season groove. And with George Russell winning this, and I still don't believe he was in the best car on the grid. I still don't believe that. I still think, even though the McLarens have slowed down a little bit, their pace isn't what it was. as you could see, Lando, he was struggling to catch Max really the whole race. I mean, it was really a battle for two and three the entire race with Max and Lando. Lando fell just short. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, yeah, he fell just short. Um, did pick up 15 points though, so that makes the drivers' championship a little tighter, especially with Max. I mean, Max picks up 18 points, and that also makes it a little bit tighter. So there's really a battle going on with Max and Lando right now for second and third there too, and as well as Oscar. They're catching up to him pretty quick, and we've seen it seems a little like McLaren is starting to favor Lando a little bit, but now that they've won the constructors title, I kind of picture them to just let them race. No team orders anymore, just let the guys race and really see who finishes it off. And if they do, if that is what McLaren decides to do here with Oscar and Lando, I do think Oscar will just end up pulling away and, you know, winning because that's two races that you could kind of argue. I'm not really taking either side here, but there is two races that you could argue Oscar should have been ahead of Lando and had this drivers championship a little further of a reach than what it is right now for Max Verstappen and also Lando Norris. But yeah, very interesting with the McLaren team and going forward there. But anyways, back to Mercedes. Um, there was some contract talks about George Russell. There was rumors that he had a contract that he just hasn't signed yet, and apparently those rumors were false. So he's not locked into a Mercedes seat yet. Although I do think he will be back. I don't really see a reason for him to leave. I There were a little bit of rumors about Red Bull getting him or way earlier in the year, but I just don't see that happening. I've seen some other Red Bull rumors like Alex Albon. I've seen rumors with him taking the Red Bull seat and a few others as well as Isaac Hadjar, which is most likely going to happen. I think we've already pretty much nearly confirmed that as Arvid Lindblad got the second V-carb seat, and the next one is between Yuki and Liam Lawson, it seems. So yeah, I don't think Albin will be getting that seat, but yeah, I also don't think George will take that seat. I do think it will be Isaac. So yeah, I expect to see George back in the Mercedes for the next few years, because especially with them supposed to have one of the better cars next year, why would you want to leave really? Especially when you're really the A side on that team. You're becoming one of the better drivers on the grid. I think he's the second best driver on the grid outside of Max Verstappen. If Max ever decided to cut his career a little short, I think George would be the main guy on the grid that everybody would be paying attention to as long as Mercedes could provide him a pretty good car. But Antonelli, I've also heard rumors that there is a contract in place for him that is not announced yet. I heard it should be announced pretty soon. That could just be fake rumors, but it seems pretty legit. And I know Toto Wolff he's very up and down with Kimmy. One second he's talking good about him, one second he's talking bad about him. But he's another one. He's so young, and he hasn't been absolutely terrible this season. I see some people saying he's been pretty terrible. I don't think he has been. I think he's been pretty solid for such a young kid stepping into a big role in Mercedes. A lot of times you see these younger guys go over to one of the the middle of the grid teams or back into the grid teams. But yeah, I mean he takes a big step, hop straight into the Mercedes, and I think he's been pretty solid as he finishes P5 in Singapore. Right behind him is Charles Leclerc. Fernando Alonso is seven. He also had some issues. Retirement. He's on the brink of retirement. I kind of expect him to be gone this year. Charles Leclerc has had some discussions with Aston Martin. Don't know. I don't really see that happening because he's also had discussions with McLaren and Mercedes. But it's kind of weird being that Kimmy also has a contract floated. There's rumors floating around that Kimmy has a contract. So yeah, I mean we'll see what happens. Buyouts could happen, opt-outs could happen, especially with these new rules coming up. And the opt-outs also brings up that Charles Leclerc is frustrated with Ferrari, and we talked about it in the latest episode. The rumors keep they keep swirling around, they keep getting bigger, and it's starting to look like it's not so much rumors. It's starting to look like this is a real reality that Charles Leclerc could be splitting away from Ferrari. And who would his replacement be? Well, there has been some rumors also from Oscar Piastri's side of things that Oscar Piastri would gladly take that second Ferrari seat, or at this point, it would probably be the number one Ferrari seat because I think you would also have a Lewis swap with another rumor that we'll get into right after this with Ferrari. A lot of Ferrari rumors. We have about three Ferrari rumors in this episode. But yeah, there were some reports going around about Oscar Piastri. Let me pull some up, see if it's on here. I saw them all on Instagram. You can't really find many of these F1 rumors, which a lot of the time actually comes true. I mean, we saw the Lewis rumor a few years ago before he signed with Ferrari on some little F1 fan pages. You couldn't really find it in the mainstream media until it really happened. So, yeah, the F1 news is tough to find. So let's see if we can find it right here. Oscar Piastri, Ferrari. Okay. Okay. So Daily Mail posted Oscar Piastri sets sights on shocking move away from McLaren as he gears up for huge world title scrap with teammate Lando Norris. So yeah, the frustration is really, really catching up to Oscar. You know, he really wasn't showing it at the beginning of the season. He's Oscar's always been the nicer, quiet guy, but you know, it gets to a certain point where you can't be that nice, quiet guy anymore. You have to do what's right for you, and I think that's what Oscar's doing. You know, he wants to win a championship, and I don't blame him. So, yeah, Piastri is eyeing up a switch to Ferrari in 2027 over doubt of long-term futures of Lewis and Charles at Ferrari. Both Ferrari drivers are set to enter their final seasons at the constructor next year, and it could potentially pave an opening or two at one of the sport's most attractive F1 teams. Yeah, that's just what I'm reading off of this article. But yeah, there was some rumors out of Oscar Piastri's camp. A few guys said that he would be happy to take that Ferrari seat, just needs to learn to speak a little bit of Italian. So these rumors are also getting bigger and bigger, and it seems like they might not be rumors. I mean, it's Ferrari's a big seat. You're gonna get a ton of money for it, so really just do it, honestly. And as a Ferrari fan, I'd love to see Oscar in a Ferrari. Even though I really want Charles to stay. I mean, if Charles does leave, what better way to replace him unless we get like George Russell? I think Oscar would. It would be a weird fit, but I'd like to see it. So, that being said, if a change does happen, Charles Leclerc probably ends up at the McLaren, which I'd be happy for him because he could really contend for a Drivers' Championship finally, either there or McLaren. If I were him, I wouldn't go to Aston Martin, but I don't really see that happening. I think they're kind of smart enough not to. But yeah. Anyways, the next Ferrari rumor with Lewis's contract or his long-term future in doubt with Ferrari, they are interested in pursuing Gabriel Bortoleto, one of the best young drivers on the grid. I've been highly impressed with him this year in the Kick Sauber car. He'll be with Audi next year, and yeah, he's going to be due for, you know, a big change if he could really live up to expectations the rest of this year and next year. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see him in a Ferrari. At first, I thought it would be Ollie Behrman, but if you can get Bortoleto, I think you do it. Like I said, great young driver. If you get him in a good car, I think he's going to be better than Kimi right now in Mercedes. I think if you put him in Kimi's seat right now, he's better. He's gotten the most out of the Sauber car, and that's saying a lot because that is not that great of a car, as most people know. But yeah, Gabriel Bortoleto would be very interesting in Ferrari, and sign me up. Sign as a Ferrari fan, sign me up. Give me Oscar Piastri, give me Gabby Bortoleto if Lewis and Charles are out. I do think Lewis will have a little bit better of a year, but if Ferrari can give Charles a good car next year, which is it's a very big if. because I mean he's been there for a long time now, and we've done absolutely nothing. So it's a big if. If we can get Charles a good car next year, get him to compete for a driver's title, maybe he stays. Maybe we have a team of Charles and Gabby Bortoletto. I I'd love that because I don't think Lewis is long term, like a lot of people would expect. I do think we'll see another switch from Lewis, either retirement or just race with another team. At that point, I think you just retire. Um, because you probably won't get another seat with a top contending team unless it's more of a marketing move, which I hate to say because I really like Lewis. And yeah, I do think he's one of the best drivers of all time. But that's just how the sport works. It's a business at the end of the day. And yeah, I mean, that's just how it works. And that's the unfortunate truth. But yeah, potential Gabriel Bortoletto in Ferrari with Oscar Piastri in Ferrari. Very, very, I guess, exciting news for the future of really the sport in general. Because that would be some major shakeups if you get two new Ferrari drivers. But yeah, there's not too much in-depth news about this Charles Leclerc stuff, other than his team has been in discussions with Aston Martin, McLaren, and Mercedes about a potential swap in 2027 around that time. So the last Ferrari rumor, and just to end off this episode, because like I said, it'll be a very quick one. Ferrari is also pursuing Christian Horner for next year, I believe. They're going all in. You would be replacing your big guy in charge with Christian Horner. Christian Horner's had a lot of success at Red Bull. You saw it the past few years, outside of last year, really, and outside of this year, obviously, which is not there this year. Outside of last year, Red Bull has been as dominant as you could possibly ask them to be. But the question is, could you do that with a switch to Ferrari? Because we saw it kind of slow down. We did see it kind of slow down, especially with the car changes, being out of the sport for pretty much a year. Are you going to come back? Are you going to be the same? And are you really going to live up to expectations as a lot of Ferrari members have not really, to be honest? I mean, really, nobody's really lived up to expectations at Ferrari. It's just a tougher place. It's a huge market, the biggest market on the F1 grid. But yeah, if anybody could pull off the move, I think it's Christian Horner, or I think it's Ferrari and Christian Horner. Very skeptical of it, but if it could give you, if it is this a move, is this a move by Ferrari to try and keep Charles? Are you trying this hard to get Charles in a better car next year because you don't believe that you can? Are you trying this hard just to keep him around? If it works, I'm down. But that's a big if again. Because I've seen a lot from this team. Nothing's really panned out. But eventually something has to, right? I mean, that's how it works, you know? Eventually, if you go through so much bad, eventually something should pan out. Anyways, Christian Horner is one of the bigger names in F1. And his sights are set on Ferrari, and Ferrari's sights are set on Christian Horner. So, very interesting news. Not much news about it, other than just the basic report about both sides being interested. But yeah, as more news comes out, I'll start pumping out some more episodes. Once we get Brian back, we should have about 35 to 40-minute episodes. So it should be much better. Better quality, better talks, better conversation. But yeah, just a quick 20-minute one. And I will catch you hopefully with Brian to preview the United States Austin, Texas Grand Prix this coming week. So, everybody have a very good day, and we will see you later in the week.